Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Hey, food drinkies, it's Molly. Before we get started, just want to ask, we love when you ask for help, and so we're asking for help. We have all different categories of help. Do you have 30 seconds to help us? That would be amazing. If wherever you are, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, just click the subscribe button for Food Drinks. And if you're like in a giving mood, we are here for it. We would love, love, love if you rated our podcast, and we would love, love, love if you shared this podcast with somebody. It's going to be a great one. And know that we love you no matter what. So let's get to the show.
All right, I have a topic for us
I'm so
today.
excited. It's a hot, listen,
It's a
listener.
hot
It's a
one.
hot topic. We texted about it.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is a hot topic. See you guys Wednesday.
Yeah, we've been talking about body thoughts in Sweet Sobriety lately and really weight in general. And I just really want to reinforce weight is not and has never been a reliable indicator of success in food addiction recovery. Yet it is implied all the time and it is so damaging. And it's not only implied just in general in the food addiction recovery world, but it is also implied by professionals that work in this field. And I believe this is internalized weight stigma masquerading as, oh, clinical concern. And it has no place in food addiction recovery because someone, then the message that from what our group members were saying is if your body hasn't changed, you must not be doing enough. If you're in a larger body, you must still be even using. This is something that's implied. If you're a fat professional, how can you possibly help others? And this thinking is so inaccurate and it is so traumatizing and it is so infuriating to me. I think about other substance use disorders and imagine telling someone who's recovering from alcohol, they're not really sober because they don't look it. When they've been
so many questions about this
all day. Yeah, go.
This is going to be a spirited conversation. So okay, I just have two. I actually have questions maybe. So like if someone's, so I think we define our own recovery first, right? Like it's really about to thine own self be true. Right. And if someone's actively, so the thing that I think is really hurting my head, like if you're watching it on YouTube, it's like just like there are more wrinkles being created by my thought process than like anything you're ever gonna see. Like you should just go on YouTube, just like all the wrinkles. But like, first of all, like I think like right, we have to think about like, well, why do we care so much what people think about it if our truth is our truth? But like the other one is like defining our own definition of what recovery is. And I guess like my big question is this, but it's wrong. So my big question is if you're binging your brains out on no sugar, no flour, or even just binging and holding on to, weight that maybe isn't meant for you, does that mean you're recovered or recovering? And who decides that? I mean, it's such a deep and rich question. What do you guys think?
I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about these programs that are saying that recovery is about a right sized body. And I think that it is professionals, speaking about their own bodies and like, I don't need to name the professional because that's not here what I'm
That would
to
be
do.
so fun. Like it would be such like a mean girl club, but like I know.
Yeah. So this one professional, I was at a conference and, was definitely in one of the smallest bodies in the room and then left that conference and stated that she needed to lose 10 pounds. And this is reinforcing the cultural obsession with thinness. And it really is not speaking to the majority of people in recovery who also had it totally eliminates metabolism, hormones, all these other pieces that have nothing to do with recovery.
Right. But where do we, I'm just going to be a little devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But where do we put this idea of, like, I only know from my own experience, right? Like I was in a 325-pound body, what I was doing to stay in that body, was nothing short of suicidal, right? And I couldn't stop.
Right.
And I was a food addict and I couldn't stop. And, you know, the healing from that was really intense. And I did have to like not eat what I wanted and not eat the amount that my addiction wanted and all the sorts of things that we talk about. I mean, it's a personal choice whether or not you want to heal from addiction. It's a personal choice whether or not you want to be in a smaller body or work towards a smaller body. I mean, the story about the professional is literally the most eating disordered thing I've heard on the tape today.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and I guess I needed to maybe be a little bit clearer that most of these people that I was speaking to in the Sweet Sobriety group were, in recovery. They were abstinent and they were in larger
right.
bodies. And they are the ones that are feeling like they don't fit because of the messaging that's out there.
Mm. But the messaging that's out there, which is you have to be at a certain like BMI in order to say that you're abstinent. You have to be at a, yeah.
And even, I've heard from someone in that group that they were in a training program where it was implied that as a professional, that showing up in a larger body was not okay. And this is a training program
But,
for people who are going to become food addiction counselors.
right. I don't, to me, but to me, there's a really, no, it's like a permissive nature. I mean, I do believe there's health at a lot of sizes. I'm not sure that there's health at any size. It's going
Well,
to be a
and I don't
controversial
think that that
session.
is the conversation necessarily, right? That we're having. What I
What are
think we're
you,
talking.
yeah, like, are you saying it's a personal choice when, like, this is true, but are you saying it's a personal choice how much somebody wants to weigh and food addiction professionals should keep their nose out of what people weigh?
Yeah, I 100% think food addiction professionals need to keep their nose out of. I mean, it's like judging somebody's recovery by how much smaller their body is like judging a house that was like on fire by how quickly the victim redecorated, right? It all it does, it completely misses the point. It
Mhm.
reinforces shame. And this is the shame that brought them to a lot of them was that restriction that started early that then developed maybe even into food addiction. So it's the shame that brought them to this place in the first place.
Yeah, to me, like, I agree with that. I mean, I just agree, as we've talked about in our podcast on like volume, right? Like, I do a lot think that the volume stuff is really much more trauma linked. And as you shared with me and I learned, right, a lot of it's even chemically linked and DNA linked, whatever. I do in my, and I believe so wholeheartedly in us, like finding our own path and finding our own truth. And we're really ready for things when we're ready for things. I don't know what you guys experience in your own recoveries. Like, to me, like because I just remember the time when it was time to start to deal with how much I was eating, not what I was eating. And that was
Mhm.
really, really hard. And even like what you're saying, which is like it did remind me of that restriction. And like I had to kind of go on something a little bit more weighed and measured, and then I didn't. And sometimes I do. I don't know. It's just like I worry too, though, that there are people who are. I agree with what you're saying. Like this, it's absolutely insane to
Yeah,
say one thing is one thing. You're
right.
you're not recovered if you're this or that. But I guess I also wonder what about people who are in the process of recovery and are still really harming their bodies by compulsively overeating abstinent food.
Right. But like again, I would say, is that a moral limit test
No.
for recovery,
I know,
right?
please
It
nobody at me at this. No, 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 no. Like, and
no,
I don't think any professional should be saying you're bad, you're good, you're not, whatever, on any
right.
terms. And
Because
I'm
mostly
sort of
it's
hearing
like,
this other thing where I almost died by intuitive eating. I almost was killed by
right.
it, right? And I was
But
almost
I
killed
would
by health at any size. I was.
But would you say that you were in recovery at that point? What I'm
No,
saying is we're
right.
talking about people in recovery. And so you can be in a larger body and be completely abstinent. You can be in a smaller body and still be binging and secret. You can be in a medium body and restricting and
Right. And be like
orthorexia.
throwing your
A
guts
lot
up.
of
Right,
times,
right, right.
yeah, it doesn't tell us anything about somebody's emotional freedom. It doesn't tell us anything about their biochemical stability or their spiritual recovery. So weight cannot be a clinical marker. I don't believe.
Hmm. What do you think, MP? So I feel like MP is just sitting there, like there's such like
She's
a
really
G.
good with like tying everything together.
No,
So
she's
I
such like a right. Like I'm like MP, like
yeah.
I'm sitting here like having a secondary thought. I'm like, MP is such a genius bomb. She's about to drop on the
Mm.
pod. No pressure
You're
though.
probably going to be disappointed today. No, I mean, I think that there are multiple issues happening here
Right.
where no matter what relationship you have, like this shouldn't be happening professional to trainee. This shouldn't be happening
Right.
professional to client. Nobody should be commenting on anybody's body size, especially in the way that like somehow we're going to assign health, wellness, competency, any of those kinds of things. That is very much diet culture, diet trauma, drama. And
Yeah.
it's very much wrapped up in that. And I think that part of when I work with clients, part of my best hopes is that I can help to poke some holes in this belief system that is like deep, 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 deeply rooted in so much of what we do. It is, it's wrapped up in racism and patriarchy and a lot of social justice issues. And so for me, when I experience these things, because I too have experienced professionals making comments about other professionals' body sizes, and somehow that makes them, I don't know, better than or whatever was the take I took from that interaction.
Or more recovered, right?
Right. Which
That's
again, like the better than.
crazy. I'm sorry. I
So
don't mean to
so
shout
there's
name.
no yeah, so there's like that aspect of that is still deeply inherent in our field. And so I'm always trying to dismantle those beliefs. I also am a person who has always lived in a larger body, do live in a larger body. And it does a few things to me when these things happen. The rebel in me gets really angry and really wants to come at it with logic, critical thinking, some real intelligence and expertise and research. But then the very human part of me starts to believe, right? It's so easy to get sucked back into that messaging of like somehow I'm not as good at what I do, or I'm not as worthy, or I'm not as professional, or whatever it might be. And so then that really starts to erode some of my self-belief. And granted, like I am who I am, and I can like, turn that around really quickly. But we really have to think about these messages, because if we are really going to treat this as a substance use disorder, which there is consensus that this is a substance use disorder, like Clarissa said, we are not going to somebody who's coming to us with alcohol use disorder and saying, "No, you stopped drinking all that beer. I'm surprised you haven't dropped that weight." Right? We're not making these kinds of comments to people about their bodies in some sort of way of trying to delineate who's more recovered, or who like has a stronger program, or who's doing better than anybody else. But we still do it in the food addiction world. And it's just a really interesting phenomenon, I think, that we're seeing. And it can be very crippling for people who then they're like, but here I've been working a program for 2 years and my body has not dropped weight in the same way somebody else's has.
Yeah.
And are we considering the age, right? Our clientele are 40 to 70. Okay. Weight is not going to come off of those bodies the same way it's going to come off of you the first 2 to 3 decades of your life. We know that. And so like, it's just like this really like messy situation that like, obviously I have all kinds of thoughts and feelings about, but just because I have those big thoughts and those spicy thoughts, it doesn't mean that I'm right. But it is something that I feel like there's not enough consideration for the person's experience that's in front of. We're just saying these things as if there's no consequence to the thing that we're saying.
You know what I'm hearing too? I like the word that's coming up for me is like unprompted. Like
Yes.
that we are so because because I've really helped a lot of people get into the body that they know that they're supposed to be in. And in no way am I saying what that woman is saying. I have 10 more pounds. Like I won't even, someone says I have 10 more pounds to lose. I'm like, this is not my jurisdiction. Thank you. Like
Mhm.
you could pay me $100,000 an hour. I won't talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But to me, it's what the issue to me is, it's the unprompted nature of this assumption, and it's of this demand, right? Of
Right.
this criteria, like this,
Yeah.
it's
That somehow we
unprompted,
owe the world a certain
right?
size body.
Well, to me, it's like if people prompt it, they say to me, I have this food addiction. I can't stop eating, and this body that I'm in, and if it makes sense, right? Like if it's not like a 5 pound thing, like to me, that's like, yeah,
Right.
we can't talk. We're gonna
Right.
talk about that eventually. We can't even talk about that
No,
until we've gotten a lot
that's
of
very
other things
client
done.
centered. That's very you
Right,
Right.
right, 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 right.
within,
So-
yes, within
Right.
your
So
jurisdiction, as you said. Yeah.
what we're talking about is
Yeah.
that there's a completely unprompted assumption being made in the
Right.
field that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with an individual client's experience.
That's right.
Right.
Now I feel so much better.
That was it. That's just it, right? Because
But so we're not saying to the listener, you're not allowed to release weight.
No, not
And
at
right.
I
all.
do love what you're saying, which is the insanity that comes my way with what people think they should be doing when it comes to releasing weight is nothing short of like water fasting, right?
Yeah.
And when we focus, and they say in OA, when we focus on the weight, we lose the recovery. And when we focus
Yes.
on the recovery,
Yeah.
we lose the weight. And I don't know, you know what? I had this session yesterday with a woman, and I mean, after 7 years, she said to me, I think I might be done hating my body. I think I might be done. She takes her will back in the sessions all the time and is like, I can't eat the carbs and I got them. And I'm like, listen, like, I love you. Like, we're pretty sure where that's going to end. Okay. Right. And last night, she said that to me yesterday. And she said, what do you think? I think I'm just going to try to enjoy my life and eat in a body healthy way. I'm like almost crying. Right. But the thing I said to her too, which was, I said, here's the thing, when you really try to lose weight, you do it so poorly. Like I said, but the other thing is, if we're really honest, if you did get to that weight, you and I both know what's true, right? And she's like, yeah, wouldn't be enough. And it's like,
Mhm.
that's the whole thing. That's where we lose like the miracles and the recovery and the connections and the
Mhm.
being able to
Yeah.
enjoy life and being like, and that's, by the way, I think we do find a healthy body weight, almost, or not healthy body weight, not what a medical system says, but one like that we're like, yeah, like I may be a 14, like that's who I am.
Yeah.
It's life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
negotiating that anymore.
Right. And I think the experience though has been that there are people who have decided
Right.
that that's not recovered enough or something along those lines. And that's the problem, is that so much that still, even in a field that is supposed to be about recovery and discovery and like being able to like be present in our lives, these messages are still in there and being put upon us as professionals, but also clients and those of us who wear multiple hats, to
Yeah.
have this
Right.
belief
I
that
agree
somehow,
1,000%. I agree. And
yeah,
like, and all I want to say to you, if you're listening and you're resonating with this, is fire them.
fire them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
All they're
And
doing,
call them out on it.
and
Yeah.
fire
We,
them. Well, you don't
Yeah.
have to. Maybe they'll change, but it's unlikely. People don't usually change. There are
yeah.
a lot of practitioners. We know them. Let
Yeah.
us know. Maybe we're your practitioners who aren't going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my main hope for today was just to let people know who are finding this or hearing this or experiencing the shame of this, that it doesn't have to be that way.
It's
And
not
that
okay. And it's not
Yeah.
okay. No one person doesn't get to decide what recovery is to another
Right.
person. It's not
Right. Also, a reminder, you do not owe the world an aesthetically pleasing body. Because your brain does not care if your body is aesthetically pleasing. Your brain only cares that you survive. You do not owe the world an aesthetically pleasing body.
I mean, I kind of like needed to hear that message today.
I love that.
I'm just another bozo on the bus, queens. I'm like, thank you. I really needed that.
Well, if you want to hear more about this topic or something else, you've got questions for us, you want us to talk about something, just go ahead and email us, asktheshrinks@foodshrinks.com. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care, and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.